Thank you. It's so quiet in here. That doesn't happen often. Yeah, well. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting for September 11th, the Taber Town Council meeting for September 11th, 2023. We have a very special day for Taber Town Council and our Town of Taber organization. As a result of our recent by-election, we have with us Mr. Daniel Renford, our council-elect. Congratulations, Daniel. You're very welcome. And also have Mr. Darren Waite from the Baldry Sugden Law Office with us to take care of the formal swearing-in duties. So if both of you gentlemen wouldn't mind joining us at the front, and we'll take care of that, and I will join you at the front as well.
Ready?
Mr. Renford, go ahead and
Okay.
let official oath. Place your right hand on the Bible, please.
I, Daniel Remford, swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability, execute according to the law of the office of counselor for the town of Taber. So help me God. Sworn. Oh, okay. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
All right.
That's great.
Thanks, man.
So we'll have you sign
Oh,
here, please.
I guess I read where I
And Mr. Darren Waite, just for all your many efforts, and thank you so much for your presentation and your swearing-in requirements today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks.
And a small token of appreciation for yourself as well.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoy that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, congratulations once again, Councillor Daniel Renford. All the very best of luck to you as well, and look forward to many contributions as well. All right. I will formally call the meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, public hearings. There are none. Item 4, adoption of minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, August 21st, 2023. Mr. Thibault.
The regular meeting minutes are in front of council for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Errors, omissions? All right, so I'm prepared to make that motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on August 21st, 2023 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Business arising, there are none. Item 6, bylaws, there are none. Items number 7, item 7.1, Alberta Community Partnership Grant Application. Mr. Thibault.
So with most of council recalls, outside of our new member, last year we applied for the same type grant for a regional wastewater treatment facility study. It's been suggested that we apply for it again this year. We were unsuccessful last year. There is no matching contribution for council, so we're asking for the maximum of up to $200,000. And we are doing this in partnership with the MD of Taber and Coaldale. In this particular instance, I think last year it included Lethbridge County, but it doesn't include Lethbridge County this time around. So we were encouraged to put that in through MLA Hunter, and it's the ask this time that the town of Taber be the lead on this particular grant request, and there will be a secondary grant request for just a water treatment facility that Coaldale would very likely take the lead on for that one, but that'll probably come at next meeting for a letter of support as opposed to an action item. So that's what's in front of you today. If there was any questions, I'm here.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we do have letters of support from the other communities.
We're the first ones to take the initiative, so we don't have letters of support from all these communities at this point, but we will be getting those letters of support like we will be providing for the other study.
All right, thank you. Just to confirm, Mr. Thibault, they're already aware of this also, then I...
Yeah,
Okay,
so
right.
there was a committee that's been talking for quite some time.
Okay.
And yeah, we just happened to be, it worked out that it landed in time for our meeting. I don't know that everyone's meeting is going to work out that quickly.
All right, very good. Any other questions? So I'm prepared to make that required motion. Councillor Sorensen.
Sure, I'd be prepared to make that motion. Council, I make the motion that council moves that the town of Taber submits the 2023-2024 Alberta Community Partnership Grant application in support of a regional wastewater treatment facility study that would include the town of Coaldale, MD of Taber, and allow the town of Taber to be the managing partner for the grant project and related compliance requirements.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7.2, Trail Users Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Thibault.
So the memorandum is attached. I know that this topic has been, I think it was talked about before I even got to be here, which is almost 2 years ago. So it's been a bit of a process to get ourselves here. We do have a signed version of this document. The attached version here is not the signed version, but we do have that signed version. There's representation here from both sides of the MOU this evening, and I've just offered council if they had any questions around anything, feel free to ask the parties that are in the room. There is still some hesitation around the agreement, but as I mentioned, there is a signed agreement, and there would need to be a bylaw update for the horses, which would be, it's already created and ready to come to the next meeting, but we wanted to have the MOU here first. So if there was questions, the users are here. If not, then it's just information for council.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, I see the delegation both here, not a delegation such, but a representative from two groups. If they can make just a very brief statement or a comment, I think it would be appreciated by council, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's absolutely fine. Councillor
So,
Firth, you had a
yeah.
question also?
Sorry.
You had a question also? I can wait for a minute, or you would like to chime in first? Okay, very well. Great, thank you. Mr. Van Gies, you want to step forward first, please? Yeah, that'll do just fine. You just have to turn that on. There you go.
There we go. Thanks for having us. And So this has been a long process, but I think it was needed to take this long as well. As a board, we're happy with a lot of what's been presented here, but we still have our reservations on whether the groups are going to do what they say they're going to do. We worry that, like, as a trail club, we take all the users, like the runners, the bikers, under our umbrella. If there is any damage or we're presenting new trails or whatever, we're taking care of it. We've had some instances in the past where things have happened and there's kind of the pushback of, hey, that was part of the Agriplex group or the other group. And we hope going forward that their group will take all the horse users or horse riders under that umbrella as well. That was our biggest reservation. The other thing was, if damage were to occur, how is it going to get fixed and will it be brought back to the state it was in? Some of the trails we've hired out to have built, they're specific to mountain biking and that kind of thing. So we would like to see it go back to original state if it were damaged. I guess that's the push to council, is if stuff doesn't go like how it's supposed to, will you guys step in and help, you know, whether it's with funds or again, maybe a bylaw change or whatever. And hopefully nothing happens and this all stays positive, but I guess that's some of our reservations. We're happy with a lot of the things in the new agreement. It's been agreed upon that none of the horse users are going to go on Trail 77 trails. So hopefully that kind of stays and go from there. So any questions?
All right. Any questions arising? All right, and basically it's also agreed to a year trial, so it's kind of a work in progress in this capacity, right? So I think if there's anything that comes up from any group, I think that's direct board administration should be aware of that to pass on to council accordingly. But yeah, I think it's, you know, like anything else new, there's liable to be some things come up that were unforeseen, but if that should happen or anything related to the agreement, then absolutely, I think that's something that needs to be addressed sooner than later. Councillor Sorensen, or sorry, Councillor Firth, I had you first, actually, sorry.
I was just going to ask what the hesitation was around the agreement. I think that was answered. If there's any representation from the horse riding club, like if you'd like to come forward.
Yes, Katie O'Brien, welcome.
I only came here to answer questions, but I'll tell you what I know. I know that I know there have been issues in the past. I think we can't move forward at all without educating, particularly the youth. That I'm not saying they're all coming from the Agriplex, because I know they're not, but they're coming from the MD as well. So we do need to do a really good job of making sure everybody knows the rules, and we've already agreed we would be responsible for taking care of Trail 77's trails if they're damaged. So I don't think that's a problem. It does say in the memorandum of agreement that they will educate us on how they want their trails fixed and, you know, try and help us learn to do it correctly. So I think that's all I have to say about it. I'm really, really happy. I never thought this would move forward, so I'm ecstatic to hear that we get another chance again.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really glad to see the cooperation and the willingness of all of the groups to come together to this agreement and to try. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess I do have a question in regards to removing of manure from trails. How do you foresee that with your user group in compliance with that?
Well, first of all, there's several user groups. It's not just ours, but there's also people that aren't in the group at all. So that's where the education part comes in. I mean, it's not rocket science to get off your horse and kick it into the grass, honestly. It's not a hard thing, or pack it out. You know, in some places you have to pack it out, so.
Can I follow up with
Sure,
that?
yeah.
Is it fairly common for you to, when you go riding in other areas, that's the same kind of
No.
thing that you have to
No.
do? No. Okay.
I can't think of a single place where we have to, not even in Pavan Park, so. But they're kind of out of the public view mostly. And there is bikes on that path if they want to use it, but I've never seen bikes on it.
Sure.
Can I carry on? Sorry. I was also wondering if there's agreed upon trails. So obviously some trails will be just for your use and some will be restricted.
We have a map of trails, potential trails that we'd like to create, but really we're not on their trails. We might, there's areas we will cross their trails, and we'd like to get proper signage up to warn the bikers and the horse people that this is a crossing area. But we're not going to be sharing trails.
I do have one more.
Sure.
It's okay. That's
And
what I'm here
this
for.
is just maybe to administration too. Who's going to pay for the change of the signage? Was that agreed upon?
There's actually been no discussion around the cost of signage or the placement of signage where all those spots might be. I don't think that we've seen the mapping that is being suggested. If we have, I haven't seen it, so
Yeah.
the rest of administration may have, but at this point I can't answer what that looks like.
All right. And as far as signage, I think, didn't we helped with that before, did we not? Or was that all Trail 77? Was that?
I thought there was 500.
We did some of that?
Yes,
Oh,
I think
yeah,
so.
okay.
But really, we're pretty flush. I won't say we're all flush, but Satra is
Yeah.
got good money.
Okay.
So
Just another question about the horse manure scenario. There's really only a few places that you would be crossing the actual walking path, right? So that's
yes,
basically 3 meters
Yep.
across. So yeah, I mean, I guess it can happen even that short distance, but that's basically all that would be activated or used rather for the trail, just a quick crossing, right?
yes,
Not actually on the trail,
no,
right? And
Not at
same
all.
as the Trail 77 trails.
yes.
That's agreed upon according. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Sorensen?
Why not? Just it seems like there's a little bit of difference in trail etiquette for normal users of the trail when it's raining. They want you to stay on the trails, but then maybe with the horse route group, they want you to stay off the trails. So I'm not sure if you can clarify that. Because there's trail etiquette for the Tabor Trail system, and there's trail etiquette for horse riders. And one can be on the trail, and the other one says that you should actually stay off the trails. So,
Well,
Sure. Steve, you had some comments? Sure.
oh, sorry.
So I think if the Satra group were to build their own trails, their trail specs, if we were following like a trail building design, would be completely different than like a mountain biker's trail. So if Satra were to build their own to whatever spec they're gonna follow, we would just stay off of the trails because even our soil doesn't handle, it just bungs everything up. If a horse were to go on our trails when it's wet, we'd have like 6-inch post holes kind of all over. Or if it was designed specifically for horses, it's kind of got like a gravel base and all that kind of stuff too, so it would be able to handle it. So I think that's the difference in the.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. All right. Just checking. Sure. Come on up. Just identify yourself also, please.
My name's Riley O'Brien.
All right.
I'm
Thank you,
Katie's
Riley.
son.
All right.
I would constitute as a MD rider who comes in wouldn't be so familiar with the rules.
Okay.
My comment is actually about the manure removal, because when I was riding before any of this was talked about years and years ago, it was something that came up. People would be biking behind us and my horse pooped, somebody slipped on their thing. I think when we're crossing those trails and there's that correlation happening, it should be treated no different than like dog feces and dog leftovers. Just pick it up, take it off, remove it off the area, take it with you if you need to. And if there needs to be signage so that that's part of this educational program, that's what it needs to be. And if people can't adhere to those rules, then the horse group needs to make sure they know who those people are and so that they can be taken care of.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions there? All right. Someone to make that motion? Do not. Oh, okay. I was reading that as a motion. All right, Counselor Sorensen? Okay, all right. Very good. Got nothing further. Counselor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the sake of historic value, it wouldn't be wrong to pass a motion to take this for information. So when
Yeah.
you do that,
Sure.
the memorandum of understanding will be on the record. The
Yeah,
public
we can
record.
certainly do
So
that,
I
for
think
sure.
that might be might be a good idea. I'm not sure.
We'll go with that. If you'd like to make that motion.
Sure, Mr.
Counselor
Mayor.
Beckering, sure.
I'll move to take this presentation and the memorandum of understanding for information.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carry now. Great. Thank you, everyone. All right, item 7.3, information for council. Mr. Thibault?
So this particular information item is speaking to the energy management program. Blake is here should there be any questions, but generally speaking, I know that there's a requirement for this information to come in front of council. It's asked for by the by the energy management folks that this comes in front of council, which satisfies one of their requirements. I'm not sure if it's payment related or not, but it's a requirement of the grant. So,
All right.
Blake's here to speak to anything if anyone had any questions.
Sure, thank you. Counselor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really tried hard to read this report. And the executive summary is pretty long. So, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask one question, Mr. Arano.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, Blake.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. How's the solar project coming by the lagoons? Can you give an update on that, please?
You betcha. So right now we have the electrical subcontractor out there. They are wiring up the system. We have some trenching to do, a transformer swap that's scheduled for October the 4th, and we should be commissioning shortly after that. So that's the revised schedule. COVID and some supply chain issues really muddled up a portion of construction, but we're underway and we should be good by the end of October, we're anticipating.
Sure, all right. Just a quick question, Blake, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So that's, I think I asked Mr. Thibault about that also, but how long do you think it might be before we can actually get some comparison back from the new solar piece compared to what we were using?
To get that
power-wise?
comparative data, so
Yeah.
typically you'd want about a full calendar year just because with the different seasons and
That
stuff,
one, okay.
energy production.
Yeah.
Solar production's obviously highest in the summer, but I would probably come back in 1 year's time after commissioning and operation to provide an update at that point.
Okay, and expecting an improvement benefit all the way around. That's what it's designed for, right? So,
Yes, yeah, there should be a reduction. I
Right.
believe we were in the neighborhood of about 150,000 per year on energy at that site. It should be reduced to about 40,000 per year.
that's your guesstimate. Okay, great. That's
Yeah.
quite a number, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, perfect. Thank you. Counselor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first of all, I'd like to applaud you and administration for creating this position and being forward-thinking and saving the taxpayers, as much money as we can and being energy efficient.
Yep.
I do notice that, and I don't know what page out of 55 it is,
Sure.
of the restructuring of perhaps the org chart. And I know you have a position, and then possibly Mr. Egan has taken over some other duties. There's a vacancy. Is that vacancy then not going to be fulfilled in the org chart? I was just wondering for salaries and wages.
I'd have to bring myself up to speed here slightly. You said page 55? 8 and 9. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 sec here. Yeah, I believe there's only 55 pages in that document.
Did you see page 8 and 9 or 58?
Oh,
8 and 9. Oh, you did see
Sorry.
that. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's energy team creation.
Okay, so yeah, so just for clarity on the how things were, so prior to, or when I first started in this program, Gary was the executive sponsor, being in the position that he's in. Chris Egan is now in that position, so for clarity, I just strike out what was there before and then what's in place now. So
Okay.
Chris can answer better to, I think, your question.
Well, it's just a question I have. Maybe it can be moved to for a future meeting, but that's just my question overall in the future, what it's gonna look like.
Okay, fair.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckern?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brought up an interesting point. Did you say, Mr. Ranik, that the power cost would be somewhere in the $40,000 range once it's operational?
That's our preliminary estimates based on our 2024 electricity costs at that facility. That's correct, yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just for
Sure,
council
yep.
information, the present cost is about $150,000, you said. And that's,
Yes.
And I would agree with that, of course.
Yes.
I remember a day some time ago when before we retrofitted the lagoon system, we had a couple of 500 horsepower electric motors sitting there. Our power cost at that time, sir, was about 15 years ago.
Yep.
$400,000.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Now it's gonna be 40.
yeah, that's quite a reduction, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
That's
thank you all so much for your many efforts. We're looking forward to those positive results. Any other questions? No other questions arising with that? Okay, all right. Thank you, Blake, Chris. Also, on to, no motion required, on to item 7.4. Response to standing item. Downtown incentives, Mr. Thibault.
So this has been on the standing item list for quite some time. Councillor Firth had put this forward, and there is no silver bullet for the downtown. There's no really one response that's going to satisfy this particular request. But there has been some research going on, some ongoing research, and as some of the dynamics that we know are coming to happen for changes, that might change some of the direction that we go. So Amy is here to speak to some of the items that have been observed in other places that have landed us to, I guess, trying to respond to that particular item. If there was any questions as far as what it is that you were thinking about, Amy could provide something.
All right, any questions for Amy whatsoever? Councillor Firth.
Did you have some examples that you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I do. Thank
Okay.
you. We found a lot of the incentives actually between the multifamily one, which is the next one on here, and the downtown one actually tied together. A lot of places are doing downtown initiatives for multifamily housing. Like Grand Prairie and Red Deer, they both offer that. Drumheller actually has a vacant building program for new businesses that if it's been vacant for 6 months, they get a tax incentive on that. Lethbridge has a targeted redevelopment tax incentive, so it's between 5 and 11 years of tax exemptions or grant money, depending on the project, up to $4 million in exemptions or grant money per project. So Calgary is similar. They have grants to convert office space up to $75 per square foot. They have a program for downtown post-secondary institutions that convert an office building to a campus space, up to $50 a square foot, and they also have a demolition incentive up to 50% of the demolition. Medicine Hat is doing a 50% matching investment, up to $50,000 per property for commercial property improvements. So there's lots of different options out there. Many of us attended the Roger Brooks seminar. There's lots of great ideas there, which the new commercial space is coming. We're just not sure what that looks like downtown and which of these is going to be the best or which combination of these is going to be the best, but we're still working on it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the work that you put in with regards to research and stuff, and I understand that there's not a one-size-fits-all solution to the problem, but I just thought there must be things that other communities are doing, other incentives, and rather than reinvent the wheel, if we can piggyback or borrow some of the ideas or, you know, find things that are working that maybe we can tailor to our community. I think it would be really beneficial for the businesses and taxpayers and just the whole community. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, just a question and or comment, Amy. I believe you're at that seminar in Coaldale also with that speaker that spoke about some of the downtown revitalization. Have we done anything or suggested anything to our business, downtown core, about the putting out the plant type, decorative type things? And you had a variety of photos there.
Not at the
comparing house-
moment, no.
Okay, is that something we would be looking at, let them know it wasn't a major cost, but it certainly made a big difference. You had some numbers there, I think, stats,
Yeah.
to show the difference of what
Absolutely.
that made, right? So if that's possible, I think that would be great if they're able to be aware of that and follow up in that regard. And that's pretty limited cost for some, you know, great return there, I think.
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, thank you, Amy. All right, so no motion required on that either. On to item 7.5, response to standard item multifamily incentives. Mr. Tebow.
So this one is a fairly similar spiel, other than we do already have a tax incentive for the commercial area. So we are still navigating the idea of an incentive for the multifamily. We're in sort of the final stages, just having discussions with finance around what makes sense, what's doable and not doable in this area. So we've got sort of a bylaw started that speaks, and it's very similar to the existing one that we have for commercial. Again, there's a few other incentives that have been made options available in other spaces that we have researched. So I just wanted to let council know that we are still working on this one as well. I don't know if there was any further information that Amy had around this particular area that other places offer, but we should be seeing something come forward soon for council's consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions as a result? Councillor Sorensen.
Well, perhaps Amy has a little Coles note to share with us on this also.
Yes, thank you. Hello again. So with the multifamily incentives, it is a little different. So a lot of communities do offer grant programs or tax rebates. We have heard from our developers that they're not that interested in a tax exemption because they use it as a write-off. So they're looking more for free land or grant money or those kind of things up front. So other communities like Fort McLeod has a multi-unit tax incentive, very similar to our investment incentive, but more for multi-family residential. Drumheller does as well. Medicine Hat, Grand Prairie, and Red Deer all have them as well. But again, they're all tied to downtown, so those would be downtown multifamily investments. So we are looking at a residential tax incentive and a suite. So if you build like a legal suite in your home, tax incentive. And we've asked our developers who are looking at multifamily to tell us what they want. So we're still hearing from them and trying to figure out what's going to work best for here.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank administration for investigating this. I know it takes a lot of time and there's lots of things out there. And then if we could just come up and formulate something that would be applicable to everyone. So everyone who's looking to investing in Tabor is going to be getting the same incentives. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Amy, multifamily, does that mean more than one?
Yes.
So if you have two families living in the same house, is that multi?
No. Not in this version.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. No other questions arising? All right, thank you. No motion required on this as well. So moving on to item 7.6, standing item council requests. Mr. Tebow.
Okay, so we were able to look after items 1 and 2 on this list. The last item, 197, is still in progress. There's signage that's being sort of correlated with Trail 77 to look after some of this, and now with the SATRA MOU with Trail 77, that might make some more adjustments to these signs, and so that's kind of why it is still in progress, and we'll be working towards that in the future. And I think, if I recall, a Coffee to Council is coming this month at some point in time, so I expect if we don't have something tonight, that we may have some additions after that. Over to council.
All right, thank you. Let's get that covered. Any new stand item council requests? Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there was some discussion as regards to the wastewater treatment plant, and I did ask you this before, but I thought I'd do an open session. The pile of dirt that's taken out while they're cleaning the wastewater lagoons, what is the thought of disposal of that dirt?
If I could ask Mr. Egan to come up, I think he has a bit more knowledge than I do on that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Egan.
Thank you very much. There are two components. We're going to look into selling a certain quantity of the clay. Clay is a valuable commodity in Taber, and a contractor has approached us to buy a certain amount. We wish to retain in Public Works a certain amount of that clay material for our own internal uses. And so you'll see probably about half of that pile disappear, and then we'll retain the remainder of that pile. The expense to move it to a different location is substantial, and we'll monitor the dust creation, and if we don't have short-term plans, we can either hydroseed or put some sort of a cover to contain the dust if that becomes an issue for the surrounding residents.
All right, thank you. Mr. Egan, just a question. Is that something we'd be using for some road repair as an example, or a combination?
Partially to do with roads and sidewalk repairs.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it's good to have some of that on hand ourselves, right?
It's a commodity that is hard to find.
So if we had to buy it, it's an expense also, so kind of get the best of both worlds if we got excess here.
That's right.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Where is this pile? Is that the wastewater treatment plant, or where's it at?
The water treatment plant itself. This is material that was excavated out of the South Pond this summer. And it's just piled beside the water, inside the fence of the water treatment plant.
You guys know that? You guys go there?
So I guess you go there. All right, perfect, thank you. All right. Councillor Sorensen.
Sorry, I'm on a roll. I missed last meeting. So. There was also some discussion at the chamber forum that feral cats is still a problem. And so if administration can update us as to what that program was and if they're going to attend Taber pretty soon.
Sure, Mr. Thibault.
So the feral cat program, the company had put it on hold simply because they were dealing with the fires up north. And so we did get notification that they were going to try and reschedule us this year, but I haven't heard back to say that they are going to reschedule us this year. So the company still is in operation, and we would be scheduled immediately next year if they can't make this year. But I can reach out to them and get an answer sooner than waiting for them. But that's where we're at.
I think just to clarify, I believe there's some limited options also. So really, they're our only option. I know there's others that might do that, but that was even less likely, right?
There's not a lot of service providers out there in this area.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And I did have an ask actually out at the Ball Diamonds, Ken McDonald Park Ball Diamonds, about wheelchair accessible path from the parking area to the Ball Diamonds. So whatever that, I don't know, 100 meters or whatever that might be, was asked, and it's they basically can't get there. I know sometimes that gate is open, but they tell me that it's, I'm not quite sure how that works, Brian. When the gate's open, it's not, but it's a number of times it's not open when they're playing ball out there. And so that was just an ask to possibly look into to deal with that, to be able to get a wheelchair and or a walker with wheels, etc., accessible to the actual Ball Diamond viewing locations. Anyway, so I'm sure there's a cost to that. Mr. Egan, you had some comments? Sneaking up there.
Thank you very much for the question. The issue actually arose from a user group meeting that Brian facilitated. And what we've asked all groups to do is provide information on things that they would like. We will then create capital project statements related to implementing those, and we'll include those in the 2024 capital project discussions for council's recommendation, and we'll do that on a continuing basis. We're always open for improvements. Another one was the odor and taste. And so this will be a sort of a format going forward where we'll take information from users. If it turns out to be a capital improvement type of a initiative, then we'll characterize it, price it, and then bring it before council for approval.
All right, so just coming out of that user group meeting, that could be another benefit as a reason for that, for improvement purposes. Perfect, thank you. All right, any other stand item council requests? Mr. Thibault?
Just wanted to ensure, did that satisfy the question, or did council still want to make a motion around that, or should we leave it to what was?
Well, for me, I'm satisfied with that. It's in the works. You all already heard about that through the user groups, and it's on the radar. So for me, I think that's more than satisfactory. Yeah. All right. Any other stand item council requests? Councilor Sorensen? Check it.
Well, I could go on for hours. But I'll leave
All
it
right.
for
No,
another
didn't mean to
day.
put you on the spot here, but okay, very well. There are no delegations. Mr. Thibault, media inquiries?
There are none of those.
All right, I would just ask to make a motion to break for a 30-minute meal break before we get into the closed session. Councilor Beckering, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.